The frontier station known as Horizon Relay hung in the quiet, stretched between human territory and the distant realms of the Lumian hierarchy. The structure shimmered with metal plates, forged by human hands and reinforced with crystalline threads, offered by the Lumians as a gesture of cooperation and trust. It was a meeting point, an outpost, and in the eyes of many diplomats, it was a symbol that humans could rise beyond their limits and prove that their species was worthy of respect in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. On this station lived a soldier named Orion, a guardian whose calm patience and unwavering focus earned him a role that few believed he would ever seek. He was assigned to protect Princess Leora of the Lumians, a responsibility that sounded ceremonial and official. Reports, but carried far more weight than anyone outside the chambers of leadership truly understood. Princess Leora was no fragile figure wrapped in silk and caution. She was young compared to her kind, curious, radiant, and endlessly fascinated by anything related to humans. She admired their persistence, the way they built meaning out of struggle, and the way they rose from their small cradle world to touch the void between stars. Orion was chosen to watch over her because he demonstrated both loyalty and the rare trait of never being overwhelmed by the intensity of Lumian presence. Lumians emitted an aura that unsettled many, an energy that shimmered like heat against metal. Orion remained steady under it, calm as stone, unshaken as the hull that guarded the station from the cold of space. The task seemed simple. Keep the princess within her assigned quarters, escort her during diplomatic meetings, prevent unauthorized interactions, and ensure that nothing jeopardized the fragile alliance between their species. Yet simplicity vanished the moment Leora decided that boundary lines were more like optional suggestions than actual limits. Orion quickly learned that the young princess could bypass locked doors, slip between sensor fields, and move with an elegance that made it impossible for typical station guards to track her. She claimed she needed freedom to explore, and insisted that her mind grew stagnant if locked behind reinforced doors all day. Orion understood the desire for movement, but his orders were clear, and every escape she made risked sparking conflict in ways neither of them could afford. There was another truth that Orion noticed as days passed. Leora did not simply wander the station for fun or rebellion. Every time she escaped, she eventually circled back to him. She always sought him out. She appeared at the training deck where he ran drills. She lingered near the observation window where he stood during quiet hours. She followed him into the engine bay under the excuse of admiring human machinery. She even waited outside the strategy room when he was meeting with superior officers. Her escapes were not aimless. They were directed toward him with the certainty of a star chart plotted by ancient navigators. The reason puzzled him. He knew the Lumians respected humans, yet they rarely showed personal interest in individuals. Their culture valued unity of purpose over closeness of emotion. Leora seemed different. She looked at Orion not as a guard standing between her and risk, but as a being who represented something that fascinated her on a level deeper than she explained. When she spoke to him, her tone held warmth that brushed against Orion like the glow of sunlight reaching through a cold morning. He never quite understood why she sought him so consistently, but he remained careful. A guardian needed to stay professional. A protector needed to keep distance. A soldier needed to remember what was at stake. Despite his intentions, the station echoed with stories about the princess who escaped her chambers just to shadow the human guardian. Diplomats whispered in the hallways. Officers rolled their eyes. Engineers joked that perhaps the princess was researching human behavior and Orion had become her unfortunate sample subject. None of them understood how much effort it cost him to remain firm in the face of her bright presence. She was polite, gentle, and breathtaking in a way that felt almost unreal, yet Orion forced himself to treat her with respectful distance. He believed that if he let emotion guide him, he would risk everything, including the alliance he was assigned to safeguard. One cycle, the situation grew more serious. A mysterious vessel arrived near Horizon Relay, unregistered, silent, and unresponsive to calls. Human scanners detected faint energy signatures that resembled weapon arrays of unknown origin. Lumian counselors feared it belonged to a faction that rejected alliances with humans. Orion received orders to maintain heightened security and to keep the princess strictly within protected areas. The slightest incident could worsen tensions between political factions, already straining under the pressure of cooperation. When Orion approached Leora's quarters with the new security protocol, he expected a struggle. She disliked confinement and resisted every effort to restrict her movements. Yet when he explained the danger, she listened without argument. Her luminous eyes dimmed with understanding, and she agreed to remain inside as long as he personally oversaw her safety. He accepted the condition, even though he sensed a hidden intent. Liara valued his presence more than the protection itself. Even during danger, she wanted to be near him. Orion stayed outside her room for long hours, watching the corridor as quiet tension settled through the station. Engineers rerouted power to the shields. Patrol drones glided in silent arcs. Officers held whispered conversations as they tried to identify the unknown ship. Through all of it, the princess remained behind the door, yet he felt her presence like a subtle pulse against the air, as if she stood just on the other side of the barrier. Eventually she knocked softly and asked if she could speak with him. He allowed the door to slide open, and she stepped out. Her glow faint but steady. She asked him to tell her about Earth. She said she wanted to hear about humanity, about the origins of a species that rose from a single fragile world to stand among beings who once dismissed them. Orion hesitated but agreed. He told her about growing up in a coastal town where storms struck the shoreline with fierce beauty. He told her about the academy where he trained until his muscles ached and his thoughts sharpened. He told her about seeing the stars for the first time as a child and promising himself he would someday touch the void. Leora listened with undivided attention. She seemed to absorb every word as if it carried the essence of something she had long sought. She then spoke about her own world, a place of crystalline forests and floating structures shaped by ancient artisans. She told him that she admired how humans carved meaning from imperfection. To her, humans shone brightest not because of their power, but because of their determination to rise after every fall. She said that when she escaped her quarters, it was never out of rebellion. It was because he reminded her of the brave explorers in human history who reached beyond the boundaries placed before them, that Orion felt something shift within him as she spoke. Her words carried sincerity without manipulation. She saw his species as more than a young civilization. She saw him as more than a duty-bound soldier. He realized that her escapes were not risks taken from carelessness, but steps driven by admiration and connection. Yet he also knew that such closeness between them, if noticed, could become a spark that ignited political conflict. He needed to maintain caution, even when the path grew more tangled. The unknown vessel eventually began to move. It crept toward the station with wary precision, pulsing with dark energy that shimmered against the void. The station went into full alert. Orion was summoned to escort the princess to the deepest shielded chamber. He did not need to convince her. She followed him willingly, trusting him entirely. Yet just as they reached the chamber, the station trembled from a sudden surge across the hull. The mysterious ship emitted a field designed to disrupt shielding systems. Alarms wailed through every deck. Officers scrambled to restore stability. Orion positioned himself between Leora and the corridor, ready for whatever threat might emerge from the disruption. A boarding module struck one of the lower access levels. Unknown hostiles swept inside. Orion's communicator crackled with reports of sabotage teams bypassing security grids. He knew the shielded chamber door could not close before the attackers reached their position. He made a split-second choice and grabbed Leora's hand, guiding her toward an emergency maintenance shaft. They descended through narrow passageways lit only by emergency strips. He moved with firm precision, keeping her behind him as he listened for the sound of approaching steps or the hum of unfamiliar technology. They reached a lower corridor where backup power flickered weakly. The attackers were closing in. Orion positioned himself at the end of the hallway and prepared to hold them off. Leora touched his arm, her glow brightening as she summoned a defensive field unique to her people. He urged her to conserve her strength, but she refused. She insisted that she would not let him face danger alone. Her aura flowed around them both, forming a shimmering barrier. When the hostiles arrived, they discovered that humans and Lumians were not as easily conquered as rumors claimed. Orion fought with disciplined skill, blocking their advance with movements shaped by years of training. Leora reinforced his defense with her luminous energy. The battle became a testament to cooperation, a moment where two beings from different species stood as a single line.